Hello, this is Bill Watson. I would like to introduce him. He's the chairman of our board of directors and also the CEO of Tomoka Eye Associates in Ormond Beach. You've had a long history of service to the blind throughout your career. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. It's kind of an interesting story. I was a young man, probably in my teens at some point, and I worked at a local hospital. And one of the duties that I chose to take on was that of tending to the morgue in the hospital. It was obviously volunteered because nobody else wanted to do it. One evening when I was working that kind of detail, I saw the local eye bank come in and recover some eyes. And I was just totally enamored by what I just saw. I just couldn't believe it. And so I asked the guy a whole bunch of questions about it. And when he told me that these were going to be transplanted in some way and to bring a blind person their sight back, I was just absolutely hooked. And I hadn't even been to school at the time yet. So I was just starting into school. And I circled back after school, and I graduated on a Friday, and by Wednesday I had a job at the eye bank.
Wow,
that turned
unusual.
into a 21-year career that eventually evolved other tissues as well beside the eye.
I don't know anyone that has a story like that.
It was interesting.
About why
it was a little interesting.
It's definitely different.
Absolutely.
Wow, that's amazing.
I wouldn't change a thing.
How did you learn about the Conklin Davis Center?
Well, that's kind of another interesting story. My mother had passed away, and at the time she was living in Orlando. And so I brought her stuff over for an estate sale at my house. It was a 27-foot box truck. It was huge. And I laid out this estate sale in my yard, and this couple came in, and I started talking to them, and we just clicked. And that was Gary and Pam Mann, Ryan's parents, and that was it. I started talking to them, and I told them what I had done for a living, and they told me that they had a son that was born blind, and we instantly became friends. And then I met Ryan, and I heard about the center. At that time was just CVI. And the first question I asked was, how do I get involved? How do I volunteer?
That's great.
And that's how I showed up at your doorstep in a little basket.
Oh, and then you were asked to become a board member at that time.
I was, and I went through the process with you. You remember our lunches?
Right.
And I was thrilled to become a board member. I never thought, at the point coming in that I would be able to get in as a board member right away like that. And so I was thrilled with that role. And, I instantly respected it and gave it my all, so.
Great. Well, you've done a lot at our agency over the years. We're so happy to have you. But I know that you love being involved with the students.
I do.
What was one of your favorite activities that you were involved in?
My favorite activity so far, I think I've been here around 8 years, 7 or 8 years. By far, one thing stands out, and it was an opportunity for me to blend my passions. I'm a huge football fan, and we took 60 of the kids to a Jacksonville Jaguars game. And so it was a whole day event. I rode up on the bus with them, spent the day at the game with them, rode home on the bus, and it was just amazing. It's a day I'll never forget.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh,
what
awesome.
An experience.
And we won. The Jaguars won too, so it was even better.
60 kids. Wow. Wow. What would you say that you're most proud of about the evolution of where we've come since you've been our board chair? What are you most proud of?
I would think that, two things stand out. One, of course, was getting the Blind Babies program up and running. That hits everybody, and so that was amazing. And the other piece was obviously the merger, right. which took us from this little tiny building into this 64,000 square foot palace, and allows us to really, really go. So that was just huge, and it was all you. So.
It was a lot of, it took a village. It was a lot of us.
It did.
Yeah.
But I wish my role could have been bigger in it. But
Wow.
you guys just did a fantastic job.
What do you feel that, why are these so essential, these services for blind people? How do you feel about that in this community?
You know, we have a number of visually impaired people that live in our service area. Of course, that's important to it, but it's not only that. You know, I look at this agency as a global agency, and we're a one-off agency. In other words, we're the only ones that I know of in the world that can take someone from birth all the way through and offer services. And I just think that's just unbelievable and of paramount importance. And our community is blessed to have services like that.
Very comprehensive.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to ask you, I know you have a lot of compassion and really dedication to this organization. What excites you most about our future?
I think coming in, you know, I learned early on in my life that sight kind of chose me for my life, and I followed the signals. And I've always believed from a very young age that sight is the most cherished of our senses, and probably the most important. And so I see, you know, the biggest thing in the future of CVI is that little dream that you and I have always talked about, is to have a self-sustaining village, you know, with housing and businesses that support the village, all with visually impaired people running it and living in it. And you and I have talked about that a lot, but that's what I would like to see. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Bill, we need about 20 more board members like you. If you could clone
I'll
yourself.
see what I can do.
Thank you.
Absolutely, my pleasure, always.